So a pretty common Sunday night tradition in my home is having sadza for dinner on Sundays. So today, sadza will be had with pork neck bones, which I marinated and had in the fridge since about yesterday around 4 p.m. I'll say, so it's been 24 hours. I marinated this with salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, paprika. So the first thing I'll do is just normally brown it in a pot that I've already had on the stove with oil heating up. So give that a couple minutes. Make sure to keep stirring just so it doesn't get burnt. And then the next stage obviously will be adding water to my pot just so it cooks through. So the cook time honestly depends on how thick the meat is, but it could take anywhere from about an hour to about 2 hours. So my meat has been browning for the past 15 minutes and I did it on high heat. This is what it looks like. So you could definitely brown it to your liking, but this is how I prefer to have mine browned. Then the next step would obviously be putting water in it and then just letting it cook on slow heat. So my neck bones are finally done cooking. They took about 2 hours for them to be cooked to my liking. What I do next is just take them out, set them to the side, just so I can make the soup for them. Just make sure to scoop it all out. And then once that's done, I have about a tablespoon of oil that I had pre-measured. Just put it in the pot and then go in with about 1 really heaped teaspoon of tomato paste. Just put it in there and wait for it to start cooking and really mixing into that oil. Now that my tomato paste is cooking in the oil, I go in with my spices. So I'm gonna start off with paprika. I don't really measure my spices when I cook. I just season. And I have a pretty good, understanding or radar rather of when to like stop seasoning my food. So I went in with my paprika, I put in some chili powder, I also went in with some salt and some pepper. Just give it a really good mix, turn the heat down, and then go in with some water just so that soup can really start to like cook through. Give it a really good stir to mix everything in. And then once that is done, I can pour back in the neck bones I had taken out. Put them back in my pot with some of the stock that they had left over from when I boiled them earlier on. Give that another good stir. It's a lot of stirring, but it's definitely worth it. Give it a really good stir. Turn the heat down because I really want it to like simmer on really low heat. And then now the next step of dinner tonight is making the sadza. So I did a thing. I went to the store and was supposed to get white cornmeal, and I accidentally picked up yellow cornmeal. What a lot of people refer to as Kenya Sadza. So that's what I did. So I start off with about a cup of mealie meal. Put in some water. This is tap cold water. Then give that a really good stir just to get it all mixed in. Alright, and then once that is all mixed in, I go in with my hot water. Again, normally when sadza is being cooked, there's no measuring of water. You just stop when you know you've poured enough water. And then stir until it starts to bubble, because as we all know, once you stop stirring your sadza when you're cooking it and you cover the pot before it starts bubbling, so we definitely don't want that to happen. I can definitely tell that the consistency is starting to get thick, a little too thick actually, so I'm gonna go in with some more water. Keep stirring, and then pretty soon it's going to start bubbling. So 20 minutes later, and I am ready to go in and finish cooking my sadza. So as we all know that sadza needs to be cooked really quick, especially kakumona, otherwise your stove will literally get more of your sadza than your plate will. So it really is a matter of racing against time, and also trying to make sure that how kwatirwe, because but just go in and give it a mix. Don't mind what my stove is looking like. If you've ever cooked sadza, you know that this is pretty normal. I mean, the same could apply too for people who cook pap or who cook ugali. I'm not too sure about people who cook fufu, because I know the cooking process is a little different from, you know, how we make it in the southern region of Africa. But you just go in as quick as you can, trying to make sure that you're really mixing in that mealie meal. And then obviously it's a lot of eyeballing to make sure that you've put enough mealie meal, because if you don't really measure, you could end up putting too little and end up nesadzadete, or you could end up putting too much and then end up wakuchkachidina. Although I honestly, between the two, wouldn't mind eating chidina. Sadzadete is just not for me, because I mean, at that point, might as well just put peanut butter in it and make a porridge. But you keep on mixing your mealie meal until you don't see any, you know, specks of raw mealie meal, or cornmeal as they call it in the US. But keep mixing it, and then once you've seen that it's all mixed in, you give it one last really big mix. Cover your pot. Make sure to turn your heat on low so that it doesn't get burnt, and then give it a couple minutes. I mean, I know everybody's different. Some people would rather have their sadza, you know, go through the final cooking process for like 10 minutes. Others prefer longer, but because I'm cooking it in a smaller pot, I don't think it honestly needs anything more than 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later, and it's time to plate. I just go in again, give my sadza one last stir before plating it. After giving it one last stir, I get a spoon that I wet beforehand. And the only reason I do this is because if I don't, the sadza gets sticky. I put it on the plate and then now go in with my, so it's been simmering on really low heat for the past, I'll say, close to 30 minutes actually. But it still has a good amount of soup in it, so that's okay. And I really do love soup. I cannot eat meat without soup in it. So I go in, plate it in a bowl. Make sure I get a good amount of soup in there. And then once my heart is content, I stop dishing it out. And this is what dinner is looking like today. We've got my yellow sadza and the stew. I think it actually came out really good.